So yeah, thanks for having us. So the company is Simline. We're a finance and operations platform for IoT businesses. That's a lot of words. Another more popular term is a RevOps platform, and we specifically target IoT businesses in the sort of small, medium-sized enterprise size. The problem that we solve is that IoT companies do not scale well. The revenue per unit is typically fairly low, often $5 a month for a device, whether it's a a telemetry device or an ag tech device or home automation device. And even though the revenue is low, the lift in order to overcome the challenge of billing every month, especially when you have multiple levels of service or you have a metered solution. So like telemetry devices may ping 5 times a day or 10 times a day, and maybe your client has 100 of these and each one pings a different number times a day. At the end of the month, if you're billing on a metered basis, it's pretty complex. And then the financial information, including costs to run the business, the COGS or the reoccurring costs like telecom bills, and the operational data is typically really siloed. And even though they're really they should be tightly coupled. And so what ends up happening is basically IoT companies typically flounder and sort of accrue a significant amount of operational debt as they grow. And so they just don't make, the end result is they just don't make as much money as they should. So the solution is a RevOps platform specifically for IoT companies, providing automated subscription and billing. So we can take care of variable bills, which come from metered or changes in services. We provide no-touch automated optimization of their costs. So big cost in IoT is the SIM card that gets put into the device. Tackle that by some algorithms for managing our clients' telecom accounts and making them pay the least amount possible per month. And then finally, we provide a global single pane of glass so that they can see across all of their end customers, as well as all their costs of goods sold, which really comes down to the SIM cards and like things like AWS bills. So what we do is we help companies grow really fast by stripping away barriers that are very specific to trying to run an IoT company. The value proposition to the client specifically is that we allow them to scale faster. We accelerate their cash flow. So instead of sending out invoices and waiting for checks to come in, we provide them a credit card payment portal. We enhance their margins by reducing their COGS. So by optimizing their bills on the back end, they just extract more margin from their sale. And we provide a unified platform for them to look at all their operations. And I would also say that by eliminating the complexity of billing, we allow IoT companies to have more segmentation in their pricing to hit different markets. So a really common side effect of trying to run an IoT company and trying to bill is that it's so complex that companies typically end up doing really simple billing because they can't handle anything else. And by doing simple billing, you don't segment your markets properly. So you really just don't get as much cash out of the market as you should. So we're kind of I think we're kind of unique in that because we're purely a software company, Anthony and I have been developing this software for the last, let's say, 3.5 years, and have acquired a few clients and have been working on this part-time. So we sort of have this infinite runway in that we're doing everything out of pocket on the side, but we do intend to flip this over into a full-time thing. And so although we have been working on this for a long time, the idea here is that if we were to flip over to full-time, this is sort of our go-to-market, which is, launch in Canada, specifically Western Canada, although the rest of Canada is fine, but Western Canada is easier to reach with our current resources. And then flip over to the US with the assumption that the the cost acquisition and so how we get our clients is essentially the same as in Canada. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but that's the assumption we're working with. And then from there, tune the strategy and go global. So the IoT market is very big, 1.3 trillion by 2026, as a compound annual growth rate of 10.5 right now. And the funny thing about it is, if you read market research on IoT, the newer the research, the bigger the market is. So if you go back to like 2011, people said it was like, 500 billion, and then 2017 it was bigger, and then the latest ones are around 1.3 trillion. So it's growing. It continually grows faster than people expect. What at the end of the day, what we think is reasonable for us to be able to actually obtain of the global market is just under 831 million, as per the slide. So, and then the Canadian numbers are below, adjusted for the market data that we got and sort of population size. So how we actually make money, very similar to what you'd see with something like Shopify or FreshBooks. Essentially, we provide a platform that companies can get their work done, and that's a flat fee of $350 a month. And then we also provide a payment gateway where we take 2.5% of the revenue billed, which is a huge chunk, because even small IoT companies can have very the ratio between their costs and their revenue it can be surprisingly large. So that 2.5 can be pretty big. And then we've been building this with white labeling in mind right from the beginning. We think telecoms and sort of the equivalent are a great way to reach additional market. So we would provide the entire system on a platform license fee, or some partners would rather the hybrid model where they sell your product, but you actually serve it, and it's still branded as you. And typically with carriers, that revenue split is 70 to 30, where the carrier takes 30%. What they give you for that is a gigantic sales force.
Yes. Alrighty, shall we wrap up pretty quick here? Yeah. We're a little bit behind today, and I want to make sure that we have time for questions. But sure. Yes.
Yeah. So just really quick, who we are. We've been doing IoT stuff for like the last decade. As we were sitting on the other side of the table for the last decade, fighting with these problems, so we decided to solve them. And yeah, that's it.
Nice.
I'll leave it at
Ryan had a question about your competitors, which you had your competitor slide up. So
yeah, sure.
Comments on competing in the space.
My comments?
Like who else is doing billing for IoT companies? I don't know anybody.
Yeah, it's a boring space, which is great. Mostly, so I tried to find small, medium-sized enterprise products. There's not really any. There are SME products for doing SaaS billing, but SaaS billing is significantly different than IoT. So IoT is like hardware-assisted SaaS. And then SIM card enabled IoT stuff is like kind of the subset of that. The problems are pretty unique, and they require you to actually integrate into systems that the IoT company would use. So the closest sort of strongest competitors to us, but in a slightly different market, would be somebody like FuseBill or ChargeBee. They make really good tools for SaaS companies to bill based on usage, seat licenses, all that kind of stuff. And they do target small, medium-sized enterprise. But they do say that they have IoT stuff, but they're not IoT specific. And so the actual feature set doesn't solve the problems that we're solving. And then when you look at IoT, it's all targeting telecoms.
Okay. Yes, I was going to ask who your client or who your ideal customer is. So you're going after the telecommunication companies?
No. I mean, as a partner, sure. We're going
You're breaking up a little,
IoT.
Michael.
Am I? Okay.
Just speak a little slowly and into your mic.
Sure. Yeah. So, oh, my internet is unstable. We're going after the small, medium-sized market, not the enterprise space.
Any specific industry?
Companies that make devices that they sell attached to SaaS. So I would say IoT companies in general. We're basically a fintech platform. So in Western Canada, the clients that we would go after would likely be very related to heavy industry, because traditionally IoT in Western Canada is heavy industry related. In Eastern Canada, the bulk of IoT services by volume is fleet or telemetry. And then second to that is probably ATM machines. So we're not IoT solution specific, because we're not an IoT company. The IoT companies, the markets that they go after is really region dependent.
Okay, and there's another question. Do you have an MVP ready, and have you rolled out to any early adopter clients?
Yeah, so our system is fully functional. We've had 2 clients for 4 years. We used to do a lot of the work behind the scenes manually, and we've slowly built out the actual software as we tested what features were required. So we've been providing automated cost savings for essentially the whole time, and we've just released the beta version of our billing system. And then we also have a dashboard with like a dashboard, like a BI tool, I guess, a BI dashboard with machine learning based unsupervised trained alerting in it. So it just basically provides clients feedback on whether things in their system are going weird.
Yeah, and before we finish up, do you have any what are your asks for the group?
Yeah, so our ask is kind of open-ended. We are interested in bringing on a early investor partner to help us twofold. One, to build out a realistic financial model and runway for world domination, and then also some cash to get us through the first phase of that. We're not financing.
I think
somewhere between 100. Pardon?
Oh, I thought you said it, but I can't remember.
No, it's pretty loose. Somewhere between 100 and 500,000. We're not finance guys, so, and we have unlimited runway. We could just keep on doing this ourselves. We don't really want to do that though. It's too slow. So really what we're looking for is a partner who has an understanding of the SaaS, or building a SaaS business, rapidly growing it. And then the specific amount of cash required to get through the first gate is really dependent on what we collaboratively come to.
Sure, okay. That's great. Just wondering, Michael, just another question. I guess Anthony is here as well. So are the two of you primarily, what do you enjoy most about the company? Is it the coding, or what kind of skills do you guys bring to the team? Because you're probably going to need a fairly large team to really dominate the world, right? So what other kind of skill sets are you looking for, maybe that the investment might or might not come with? Do you need anything else?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, our roles have generally been, Anthony's been doing most of the heavy lifting in terms of the software development. And then my role is more like product management and product design, and helped with some of the algorithm stuff. Where we're a little bit weak is, and we have specific people that we have worked with in the past that we would bring on board in a heartbeat, that helped us with our previous SaaS companies that we worked together with on. So somebody to run essentially be the chief revenue officer. That role has different meanings in different companies, but to us that would be, running the sales and marketing program, as well as sort of working with me in terms of determining the best features to roll out at which times.
Okay.
And then
I'm also just wondering, there's a lot of companies that come through here that actually have possibly relevant devices, I guess, like Mark Olson. I don't know if you heard his talk from Flock Systems. where they are, I guess, looking at beef herd management and have a device that they've developed. But there might be some companies that you could take a look at in the ag sector that are just completely untapped in this space. So feel free to reach out to Mark or let me know. He's on the agenda, but great stuff. I really appreciate you presenting. And Christy, thanks so much for chairing our last session. Everybody, for your questions